We are now recording the go-to meeting for month 7. This is week 2, and it is our Thursday night meeting. Week 2, Thursday night. So we're almost done with week 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it week 2?
Hmm.
Yes, it
Wow,
is.
I guess it
already.
is.
Goes
In
quick.
attendance are myself and Martin, Stephen, and Suzanne. So we're missing a couple of folks. Maybe someone will pop in a little bit later. But being Thursday night, it's our earlier night, so maybe a couple of folks can't show because of the timing. I have to, because you know I can't stand doing this. And in the go-to meeting archives, you don't have the screen, the webcam screen, so you can't see uh, how this actually pains me to have to do this. But I have to put on my stern professor hat for a moment and
Okay.
shake my finger
At me.
at the group. Um, it just has to be said, these are not enough sketches. There's not enough differentiation um, in ideas.
Okay.
Um, I think I'm pretty certain I said 30 different ideas at least, and I mean, it's not that people are doing the bad thing. I don't want to make it sound like everyone has just done this completely wrong or they don't have their brain on or something like that. But overall, there's not enough sketching going on. So maybe it's not so much shaking the finger, maybe it's just a reclarification and a motivation to do more differentiation. And um, Martin, yours is a pretty good example of what I'm talking about. You've got 12 sketches, and while they are different from each other, they're still basically the same concept of water droplet. And I know that your piece has to do with water, but it doesn't. Your logo doesn't necessarily have to. Um, it doesn't have to be so literal that you have water in it, because the word is thrive, and there could be other things that would say thrive or communicate the word thrive beyond just the water droplet. It could be happy people. It could be growing crops. It could be an abstract, which you sort of have, and you've got this interesting thing here, number 8. And again, it's not that what you've done here is wrong. It's just an encouragement to go further and break out. And like we had mentioned last week, look at David Aries' sketches and how many different conceptual ideas he tried out before he came to what he came to. So I don't know. I hate to start it off with sounding like I'm uh, shaking my finger, but does this make sense to everybody? I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, okay, cool. Having said that, let's move forward. Um, and I encourage you to continue doing some sketches and to continue, you know, um,
Iterate.
Suzanne, yeah, to iterate. But Suzanne, you were going to go back to the drawing board on some things, and I see just the one from you, and so I guess my question would be, do you feel that this is your logo?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I am.
No, I have some more sketches.
Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this particular logo then. Why did you post just this one?
Um, I can see on the screen. I don't know if you're showing everybody else Suzanne's work, but I'm looking at my post on the discussion board on your screen.
Um, is my
Yeah.
screen showing?
There it
There,
goes.
now it's showing Suzanne's.
Okay. Okay, so Suzanne, why post this one? Do you have an affinity for it, or is there something you wanted to say about it or with it, or why just this one?
No, no, not particularly. I have some other sketches, but what I did last night is I kind of reviewed over some other, you know, some other people that had posted and kind of gave a critique
Right.
on theirs. And I had this one finished, so I just went on and threw it out there. And this one was just kind of um, I was kind of putting some thoughts together about some of the things we had talked about
Okay.
on our last critique with, making the H kind of represent the house and, having the people, kind of smiling and, included the just one family group and, so anyway, I was just putting some thoughts together with that and just threw that one up there. And I just didn't get an opportunity to post the other ones that I had,
Okay.
which are done, but I just haven't posted them, scanned
Okay.
them yet.
Well, if you would like to post them, oh, you have to scan them as well then.
I probably can do it while we're all talking.
Okay. Well, why don't we do that then? And you be doing that, and let's go up here to Amanda Hoffman is the first new one, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I think the first thing we need to talk about before we look at her work is to think about how the logo, we all remember the principles, the logo principles. There were the ones I posted, and then there were the ones that David Airy mentions. And everybody kind of has a different idea of what the five principles are, but they are all essentially the same ideas. To say something is simple or to say something is, easy to read is kind of the same thing. To say something is minimal or something is simple is the same thing. Um, Something is timeless or memorable. There's a lot of similarities between those, but beyond that, the logos have to be applicable in different ways. And what are the four ways that you will be creating your logo? In what four versions? Anyone?
Word mark.
I'm guessing if you're talking about four versions of solid color, multicolor, transparency, and animation.
That's it. So let's talk about that for a moment. You will often hear um, somebody refer to give me a black and white logo or give me a black and white. If you're talking about printing the logo, I'm going to need a black and white. Um, what does black and white mean? Stephen, can you tell me what black and white means?
Black background with white text using negative space, or white background, black text, just no color.
Okay. Um, Pretty good. But black and white, when it comes to logos, really means single color
Okay.
because you can do red and have it be a single color and it be a black and white.
Oh,
The
okay.
reason for that is the terminology of black and white is if you have a multicolored logo, if you're the Solar Bears, for instance, and you've got your paw print with your sun and it's got all those colors on there, then if you're printing in the newspaper at a particular time or for whatever reason, the printing company that your logo is going to be using only has one color. Typically, that color would be black. And so they call it a black and white because they can only print in one color. Now, if you were printing in just one color and it happened to be red, then your red single color would be the black and white in that particular case. These days, you don't hear as much because not too many things are printed in just single color and black and white. Smaller places, church bulletins, quick and dirty flyers for things to go on windshields for events and stuff. Sometimes those things are going to be in black and white.
Fax.
And what's that?
Fax.
Well, yeah, fax is black and white, but who uses that anymore?
Oh, not me.
you know. But yeah, so those are examples of black and white. But these days, you'll probably hear the term single color a little more than you would black and white. There is another um, pitfall with black and white that students often run into. Um, Black and white does not mean grayscale. You have black and white television watching the Brady Bunch from 1968 or something, and you are watching it on an old television. It's in black and white. That's not really just black and white. That's grayscale. It's all kinds of different tones from black to white. So to that end, if you turned in a black and white logo um, that had grayscale in it, it would not be usable in single color. Which, and the purpose for the single color logo or the term black and white is so because you only have one color to print in. Now, again, these days printers are much more advanced, and the types of printing people do are more advanced. And so, if you've got black, oftentimes you can sort of spray a gradient in, and you sort of end up with something that is a little bit more grayscale. But still, you have to consider the idea that you're not going to be able to use grayscale, that you are only going to be able to use one color. So if you provide, when you provide a black and white version, single color version of your logo, do not do it in grayscale. So what does this mean, Jeff? What is the thing to look out for? Why do we need to know about black and white single color logos?
You need to be able to identify with the well, okay, you need to, with the brand mark. So if you've got a grayscale image as you were talking about, and it's going to affect the contrast between the can I use an example?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so you take Adobe's A, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at it, and there are very defined lines. Um, there's no gray that would blend it and make it blur into a uh, uh, some other background. It's definitely identifiable.
Well, okay, we've got Adobe on the screen, and
Well, okay,
it's pretty much a single color. So
right.
this is not problematic.
No, that's what
So
I'm
let
saying.
yeah,
There,
this is not
I
problematic.
can on the discussion board, if I don't mind me interjecting.
Okay.
Interject.
Number 5 on Amanda's discussion board there.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to turn that into a single color logo, all context of that logo would disappear. It would be nothing
Bingo.
but one big single color, and we would not know what it was a logo. It
Right.
would look like a splotch on the page.
No
Right.
contrast.
So the idea would be there is no contrast. If you use color to separate elements within your logo, when you go to single color, those those colors won't contrast each other and they won't show. So this would essentially black would be the same color, white would be the same color, and I mean you might say that the reddish color in the back and the black would be the two colors and that white would be knocked out. So you might end up with this big dark squiggle and then you would see an S and then core is all you would see.
Yeah, when I
Right.
did a character design class for my undergraduate degree,
Mm-hmm.
uh, one of our art teachers or my professors said it was just important as to have a fully functional, detailed character as to be able to take that character, fill it completely with black, and have an iconic silhouette that everybody can look at and
Very good.
identify.
Very good
Sort of
example.
like
Yes.
Mickey Mouse's silhouette. No
Mm-hmm.
one's gonna mistake that. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you filled Mickey Mouse with straight black, you're still gonna know what that is.
Right.
Who's Mickey Mouse? I'm just kidding.
Oh, we'll talk later, Jeff. Right. And so what would happen to number 8?
The headphones would disappear. Whatever she has going on in the O
The contrast of the
would be gone unless she made it like black and then knocked that yellowish part out with white.
Well, and to that end, it would only be half of the O.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's kind of two faces, kind of like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I don't know if that
we,
was intentional, but if the O, if
It's
that
not a
orange,
good face though. That orange is not a good face though. I mean, that's almost more moon-like.
it looks like it's something that was inspired. I don't know if either one of you are,
it's a
well, you should
sketch.
be, but um, aware of the Salvador Dali Museum
Yes.
in Tampa.
Mhm.
And that O almost looks like it's something that was inspired by Dali's artwork, the
Hmm.
way he does things.
I don't think she
Let's
mentions that in here, does she? No.
I'm just saying from observing it, and I
Yeah.
love Salvador Dali as an artist, so
Well, so essentially, um, these need to work in single color. So you should start with sketches and not start with color. You should start with single color and think, how will this look? How will the shape of this look if the headphones are the same color as the T and the O? What would that look like? Would it read properly? Um,
excuse me.
and I'm not real certain what some of this has like sort of sketchy colored background, and I don't know if that's. I mean, I know these are sketches, so I don't know if she intends to have two colors there, sort of like the yellow behind that taupe color there.
Looked
Maybe
like
like a drop
maybe
shadow.
was sketching in a
Maybe,
yellowish drop shadow, maybe.
but just on the S and just on the Y
maybe
and the
she
O.
started with yellow and decided to go with orange.
Right. Um, and so, yes,
Speculation. I don't know.
yeah. Now, I guess we could kind of think that her idea is to go primarily with logo type because we don't really see a lot of logo marks in here anywhere. Number one is kind of solely logo mark. But again, this is not, on at week 2 on the Thursday before you need to have a decision made, and we don't have any more go-to meetings until next Monday. This is not enough. This is not enough to sort of choose from, to give critique about, and it's not there's just not enough differentiation to get a sense of what could possibly be. There's not enough creativity behind these. There is some creativity. I don't mean to say there's none. I mean, but it's all the same thing. I mean, we either have headphones or we have a mouth talking. And I'm not real sure what this S over here. It's kind of odd.
Looks like a face in
Which
there
S
too.
was that?
The face is sort of on one side, but
Oh,
then the mouth is sort of, I don't, the
I
other
think
knockout of the S, and then a different color for the T. And then and
looks
then
like
I don't
some
know.
kind of weird bird sitting there. The S.
Yeah, I
Almost
mean, if
like
you look at it in the if you
looks
look at
more
it in the
like a bird.
color,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's a face. It's a face with the lips talking, like this one over here, and this one
Yeah.
incorporates the headphones with the lips talking. This is probably the most simplified and the most direct and the most effective of what we see on here right now, number 9, just because it's very simply using the headphones and then a smiling face. And so we get the sense that whatever is being listened to is a positive experience. And then, of course, the word story is in there. So that's probably the most effective. And you could, fairly easily use the happy face with the headphones as a logo mark whenever you needed to. And so what we should be seeing here, if this was fully iterated, properly, and if the ideas kept going, would be to see this as a logo, and then this as the word StoryCorps underneath it or to the side of it, and then you would think, oh, okay, I get what's going on here. So any number of these, could be reworked, should be reworked. Is this one's in quotations? Are the quotation marks particularly important? Are they sort of the logo mark? And if they are, I mean, it's an interesting device. So that's a fairly interesting concept. That putting it in quotes. Um, I don't know how they could be used or where they could be used
Can that lend
differently.
to some dangerous situations with special characters? down the road or in a
Well,
particular situation?
I was thinking it might be nice as as part of the campaign, as sort of an element of the campaign to use quotes. But if you're not, unless you're really really good with your language skills, and your puns and so on and so forth, your taglines, you could use quotes at certain points, but if you're not careful, you'd be using quotes wrong in a grammatical sense, grammatically inappropriately, and that kind of thing. So it could be problematic. Um, and I don't know that they would work as anything unless they were actually around a word. Unless they were around StoryCorps, I don't know that the quotes could work by themselves. I don't know. It would take somebody who really wanted to use that idea and could flesh it out and was behind it to see if the quotation marks would work.
Now, would it work to have, say, Story Corps and whatever her tagline would be to emphasize the headline? Could she put her tagline in quotes below the headline?
She could, but unless the quotes were established strongly, people would just go, why is the tagline in quotes? You see what I mean? That's what I was saying about if you just start using quotation marks, it can become
Just yeah.
confusing because there are rules, associated with how you use quotation marks. And so unless it's really kind of obvious, what they are and how they're being used, it could be
Yeah, the look
problematic.
on Jeff's face, I'm seeing quotation marks on either side of his head right now.
No, what I'm thinking is a newsletter saying StoryCorps uh, CEO quotes, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Yeah,
and having an issue like that, or a
Right.
tagline that uses quotes, and you've got quotes in your brand mark.
right.
Yes. So, difficulty there. And then she mentions a little bit, but let's see. It looks like she spells core CORE, and then she spells core CORPS here, and story core is CORPS.
Which she mentioned. Yeah, I wrote.
So, but it is she changing the name of it? I guess is what it. She
No,
doesn't
she
really
said she
say.
was making a
Yeah,
play, kind of
she mentioned
making
it.
a play on
Playing
the word.
play on words, I think.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to explain that, though, right?
Well,
Well,
where is the play on
yeah,
words?
I
Note
was
that in
guessing that
my
it's play
creative
on
bubble, I
words, but
wrote core instead of core.
For some of the sketches, but it doesn't change the general purpose.
Yeah,
yeah, it
I
Yeah,
does.
and see,
Yeah.
since she doesn't
Core.
have her theme written there, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I was just missing information,
Mhm.
Well, the
um,
way I would read
what
it,
her thoughts were on it.
if I saw like logo number 2 and I wrote Story Core, I'm thinking, all right, maybe this is an audio program that's digging right to the core, the central part of a story. And if I read logo number 6, say, Story Core, I would think, okay, great. This is a group of people who are listening to audiobooks together and maybe doing write ups about them. They
Right.
would, I take two completely different meanings from the two different spellings.
Well, the name of the company is StoryCorps CORPS. So what is the next thing I'm going to say? Somebody say it for me.
I know it's not their name.
Right. So CORPS is how it needs to be spelled,
Hmm.
because that's the name. Uh, so.
Well, what other ways maybe could you illustrate story?
An open book.
Yeah, an open book or something along those lines.
I like I like the sort of vocal idea that she's going with, and while that's not a
It,
criticism, so it's not like, I can say I like there, but
Yeah,
um, it's
keyword.
interesting, because it's a little more unique. It's not showing a book. A book doesn't.
Hmm.
What is special about StoryCorps is that it is oral history as opposed to written history. So a book is a story, but a book is not really indicative of what's going on here. So this is about speaking and listening.
She kind of
Um,
touches on that on
what
number 3.
I made a
Oh, you mean with
suggestion.
the lips, Martin? With the lips and then the vocal?
Yeah, I think she
Right.
tries to touch on that one, number three.
Right, as well as in number seven and in number eight. And then, of course, all the ones with the headphones are all sort of, it's about listening
Yeah.
at some point. Um, I think what's sort of missing here is possibly the, mm, I don't know, this seems probably obvious and it might be out there, but, two people with one person talking in the other one's ear, so
Yeah.
that, or,
I suggested that she used the well, like what I wrote anyway, was that she maybe used the O in the chorus
mhm,
to make a play with the other O to make it to kind of show some association of two people listening or talking
yes.
or relating to one another. And that I thought that was the strongest as well, that number nine.
Mhm.
Um,
Good point. I mean, but and then the idea here is what this all comes back to is, we've just come up with two ideas, and of course there's others roaming around in our heads right now, but why didn't she have those ideas? Why aren't those more fleshed out? Why aren't there more sketches, more differentiation here? Um, we're looking at 4 days worth, and I mean, how long should it really take you to sketch out a lot of ideas? And I mean, the idea of sketching, and I mean, if you guys are in a master's program for designers, so there should be some passion and excitement about designing things and about the creation process here. So I mean, I would expect somebody to sit down and go, "Ooh, I'm going to work on my logo," and then you get part of the way through doing your headphones when you realize, wait a minute, the headphone kind of looks like a musical symbol. Should I work on a musical symbol? Because that's something people hear. Well, musical symbols aren't really what this is about. This is about words, so I'm not going to use the musical symbol. But you know what? That makes me think of a vocal pattern. And so you've got, a vocal pattern idea. Maybe the vocal pattern is coming out of someone's mouth instead of straight lines. Straight lines looks like they
Or
could be
like
spitting on
drawing a
somebody.
wordsmith,
Yeah. But I
making a
mean,
sketch of a wordsmith, make a sketch of a little guy holding a book, writing the book, and you see like letters flowing off the page and possibly arcing up into a set of headphones and something like that.
right. Well, and you've just come up with one thing, and I mean, in this very short amount of time, I have essentially sketched out, or as I was sketching, come up with three different visuals: the headphone, the musical symbols, and then the wave pattern.
Not a quote bubble.
And quote bubbles. I mean, where are all of these wonderful ideas? I mean, they really should be in here. So let's move on.
Oh, you're gonna take mine apart.
Well, I'll let Suzanne take it apart. It'll be good.
I'll enjoy
Well,
it. I had
Yeah,
my
keep in
day.
mind that it was done digitally on a tinted.
I had my day, so
that's
get
right.
ready.
Hmm.
Ah, that's cool.
No, it looks good.
Okay, so we've got Thrive. Martin, in the time we've been talking, and after what I said before, how many other ideas have you come up with for Thrive?
I have about four other ideas that
See, I knew it.
want to get sketched out and scanned in for you guys,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it's
Okay. Okay. Well, let's talk about what's going on with what we've got right now. Anyway, in terms of um, using the black and white idea, these are all pretty good. I mean, you're using gradient because you're sketching, but essentially the idea would be that it's all filled in. But like if we look at number two,
Yeah.
would this area right here, Martin, and this little area right here, would that be a different color or would that be white?
in my mind it would be a different color, probably
Like an
you
off
know,
shade?
right, to kind of
Yeah.
show a little bit of depth, at least in that portion on the far right.
Right.
Say this was all dark blue, and then that portion on the far right would be light blue to make it look as if there's some curvature to the whole
Uh-huh.
abstract design. But having the conversation about black and white, that may not translate as well as I'd like.
Well, and as long as you're aware of it, and the more you're in the field and you actually print things and know who you're going to be printing for, and so on and so forth, you can get a sense of what the capabilities of your logo are going to be if you remember the UC redesign, University of California redesign logo.
Hmm.
Have you guys seen that?
Um,
Let me see.
I don't think so.
Oh my.
but I will see it
Okay.
here in a second.
Well,
Oh,
I'm trying
wow.
to think if I want to take time away from this or not.
That's a lot simpler.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we
All
go.
right, wait a second. Are we talking
Hold
about
on.
what looks like the big stamp going to the banner with the yellow C?
Hold
That's
on, y'all.
I just pulled
simple.
up images of it. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Okay, y'all are about to get a glimpse into month 11. You have to promise me not to remember any of it, okay?
I promise.
Oh,
Do
come
not
on.
remember a
Can we
thing.
take notes? Cross my
I'm gonna get my
toes.
camera ready.
You can learn whatever you want to learn out of it. I think that's just fine,
Well,
actually.
I need a camera. This is recorded.
Shift Command 3.
Yeah, it'll be posted in a couple of days. Oh, by the way, the last go-to meeting did not translate for some reason. It
Well,
recorded
that's
only the last go-to meeting. You might have noticed it wasn't posted.
Oh, you mean this one?
Yeah, the one when you were frozen.
Yeah, this one. Obviously, there were technical difficulties, and it got 4 seconds, and that's all that recorded of it. So
Oh wow.
Oh,
that's why
no.
it's not posted.
Oh no,
And
that
that's
was on
another
purpose.
reason for the importance of showing up to the go-to meetings. So.
Yeah.
that. I would love to make them, but last month I called into work like 4 times to make meetings.
Yeah.
And
We'll just
yeah,
schedule around it, Steven.
with
Just schedule around it. It's easy. Good new job, dude. What?
oh yeah, I have my method to my madness for sticking with attractions at Universal. They
Okay.
do 99.9% of their professional hiring, professional level positions there
Hmm.
are done in house.
Hmm.
So
I race from my attorney's office through traffic,
That's right.
20 miles away
Hmm.
to make it.
Jeff, we don't need you to name drop. We know you're important.
yeah, that'd be great if I got
Yeah,
all
he has
your
the hat. We know.
I got an attorney. Just saying.
Oh.
God bless you.
My
It's not
attorney's office.
what
Hmm.
I meant.
Mhm.
No, I'm kidding with you. Obviously.
Obviously.
Obviously. Right. Okay, this is gonna work. I just know it is. Okay, while you are doing logo redesigning, I think this would be a wonderful video for you to see. Okay, can we all see it?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Okay, so for the next minute and 48 seconds, enjoy. I guess I'll have to unplug my.
that may or may not work coming through live chat. Oh, cool.
Oh, the monogram. It's so cool.
Notice that all of these visuals are about how they redesigned, what they took from the old logo and incorporated it into the new one. And you'll see that now they're showing you how they applied the logo in the product. There's a single color logo. and knocked out for that matter, translucent or transparent. Look at that, a tagline, directive words, boldly Californian. Okay, so my point to showing that was, um, and you can, well, let's see, you can sort of see it in this center area right here, and now I'll go out of it. You'll notice that the C has a gradient on it. So if you look at the bottom of the C, it's the blue and the yellow going together, so there's kind of a green section in there. So that's how it's printed up for the majority of the time. But you noticed in that video, I know you did,
Oh,
um,
the single color where white back or
It's a full
it's
C.
background with the C knocked out.
and it's a full C at other times. And so they have something that has a gradient on it, but then they know that there are going to be times when they don't use it that way, and so they sort of have the alternate logos.
Okay. That's very cool.
Um, and it's just a matter of, they created the C first and they decided to put a gradient on it at times. It's a different feel, it's a different look, but um, there you have it.
There's like a white version, like a single color version over a a multicolored background as well. That's a white that gradiates in
Yeah,
white.
it's
Hmm.
a clipping mask they converted for it.
Yeah, you can convert it either way. You can have
Right.
the C be the knockout, or you can have the background be the knockout, essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do lots of neat things with it.
It's
But
actually really cool that they went from such a complex monogram to
mhm,
such a simple yet identifiable logo, and it can even be being the way it's drawn or the way it's done. It can be very easily animated logo.
yeah,
Because you could have the banner or the book, the the background there, and have the C literally draw itself onto it in a yellow light or something to that
don't get ahead of us, Stephen. You're getting ahead of us. You're running ahead and you're
Sorry,
saying,
my brain
"Whoa,
works really
Stephen."
quick.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Hold that thought. Let's go back to Martin's Thrive now. So you can, Martin, think about that, and think about that if that's going to be how you're going to use it the majority of the time. But you have to know how to use it in a single color version. So that's why I said, you'll be presenting a full color version, and then you'll be presenting a single color or black and white version. So you have to think, how is that going to work? How can I do this? And I think yours is pretty simple. For some of Amanda's, she would just flat out lose the words in that center logo that she had. But for you, I mean, this is an easy enough area that in your black and white version, instead of it being a gradient, you would just knock it out. So
Okay.
pretty simple there. Um, and overall, I'd say these are simple, and I'd say they're appropriate. Um, are there any standouts for any of the classmates?
I liked 2 and 9
What do you like about them?
with my well, 2, obviously it's abstracted, and so it's not totally, say, a water drop, obvious water drop, but then I can get that from that.
Hmm.
And I like the contrasting of the two colors together, and it's simple, but yet it's unique looking.
Hmm.
And number 9, the water droplet, you can identify that quickly, but then he does have that abstracted look coming off of the side of it.
Hmm.
um, and so I thought that that was very strong and is simple. Some of the other ones I liked as well. I liked the line of it, but then it kind of reminded me of other things. And so if it reminded me of something else, then I kind of
Okay.
discounted it, let's say. And
Okay.
so
Jeff,
I
do you have
I
any
thought those
ideas?
two were good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, there's something unique about two. So that's that's strong. That's a strong point because yeah, it's different from anything else that I've seen. Um,
It's weird. Number two
it's
is weird. It
it kind of
is.
reminds me of a
There is
comet.
nothing wrong with weird.
It has a comfortable
Well,
line, though. It's not, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and I don't
comfortable.
mean that it's creepy or scary. You're right. It's comfortable line, but it is for some
well,
reason it is sort of the standout on the page. It's an attention getter. It and but what bothers
Organic.
me is this whole thing at the bottom doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
Mm.
Was
I
it
mean,
supposed to be like a drop of water
It
or
started out as
like a
a
drop
drop
of
of
water?
water. It started out as a drop of water, and then I was thinking of animations in my head, a drop of water turning into a ball of water, and I
mhm.
guess the transition from that, um, from a droplet turning into a ball of water, I guess the animation in between that process, this is kind of what came out. So it's completely abstract from my head. So I guess
It's
that's why
cool.
it stands out, because it just kind of was
Mhm.
a visual that I saw, and I just started sketching it.
just trying to
Um,
think if
I like number seven.
you can make a
Yeah, seven is
outline.
cool too.
Maybe it's
they've all got interesting moments. Seven was something that I looked at originally and thought, well, because you're using sort of the faucet idea, it definitely speaks to the idea of potable water.
yeah.
So, which is really what this is about. So, in a way, it's much more direct than these other
You know,
things. I mean, the other things could just be eco-friendly, or it could be wax for your car. I mean,
Right.
it could be almost anything with water. But this
with
idea,
number seven, you could even turn the T without losing the single color effect. The top portion of the T there, you can actually make it into like the handle, a spigot handle, like you're turning on the water faucet. Here's
well,
clean
you
water.
could, or you could use the E at the end as well, or
Yeah,
you could do what he's done and created, sort of something
Yeah.
else. Although I do think that this chevron or this blade image here is maybe extraneous. I mean, I think you're trying to make
takes
a
it away from
bridge,
the
but
organic nature.
yeah, it does. And I'm
3D-ish
yeah, it's sort of
and pushing the faucet back.
yeah.
But yeah, like the way it's shaded makes it look like the faucet is pushed into the background and it, more of a 3D type image, like what Jeff was saying.
Mhm.
And
Go
then,
ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stephen.
nah, Jeff, I
Uh,
think
I
he's
was
raising his hand.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask Martin, what happened with number 8? I don't know if you guys talked about this or not.
What happened with it? It was really just, I guess, water droplets that are kind of in an upward motion. More things I would see kind of animating. I just kind of left it abstract. I was gonna put the words "thrive" with it, but I thought it would be a little more interesting without the words there. So they're really kind of water droplets in
Dancing
Yeah.
upward
water.
motion.
Well, you're
I
going to
liked it
need to
though.
because you got several that don't have the word thrive, and you're going to have to incorporate the word thrive
Hmm.
in them. Because I mean you're not at a level yet where you can't. I mean if you did 8 and then you put a division of Magnavox, it just wouldn't make any sense. It would suddenly become the logo mark for Magnavox or whatever. So you're going to have to include the word thrive in there with all of these others. And it's interesting, you got two of them that have the T and then a shape. And this looks kind of high tech, which goes along with the Magnavox idea.
Hmm.
This is a little bit more obvious. There's a water droplet going on there. Um, but there's something interesting about 12 too. But the T by itself doesn't quite work because you're still going to have to put thrive. And then if you've got thrive next to it somewhere, then you've got the T repeating itself.
Right.
So to that end, what would this look like without the T in it? Would it be an appropriate and interesting symbol? without the T. What what could these things be? And if I think of thrive, and I'm kind of looking at the 8 and thinking the same thing, I think of sort of that growth idea or that crop idea or that reaching up, and people happy and like what do you see when aid relief comes to third world areas and somebody's bringing water? People are all going like this. People are reaching out,
Yeah, I
and
think with number 8, I would just actually I would pixel select it and flip it horizontal so you have that same image side by side. Like you said, it's like that growth.
Mirror.
Yeah,
you have,
mirror it over.
have that essentially.
Yeah, so
That
it would be curving
yeah.
outwards on both sides.
I understand.
Could that
Okay.
make the V though? I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah,
looking at. I'm looking at the
Yeah, could
V.
it be the V in
yeah,
Thrive
you
if you're
can
doing something of that nature?
free
Huh.
transform it and rotate it down and in a little bit on either side, and you would have the V, and it would have that organic shape flaring out to either side.
And maybe sometimes it's the V and sometimes it's not. But these could, what if these were reaching? What would they be reaching for? And an incorporation of a sun or a droplet or something that is like half sun and half water droplet. I mean, those are that's kind of what we're dealing with here is this idea of thriving and having access to the essentials of life. So that's why I think you've got more to offer than just water droplets with Thrive.
Mm,
Um,
Well, water is basically life, so you can
I'm
take
not saying
any.
it's a bad idea. I'm saying it's just not the only one.
Oh no, I know.
Right. Yeah. So,
And does it have to be? Well, no. There's one with lowercase, and the I isn't dotted. I was just thinking of. Is there another part that could incorporate water somehow?
or can the word thrive incorporate two or three different things? Could you have a growing crop or a tree for the T, and then you have water somehow in the V, and then you've got a sunshine dotting the I, or do you even? I mean, again, it's sketch them out and see if any of them work or if they don't work. Or I mean, there are more than 12 things to think about here. That's what I'm saying.
definitely.
Yeah,
Probably just give them 15 more ideas to go with the 4.
yeah. I mean, these are all working within that one concept.
Mm,
You got abstract and water going on. Essentially, is what's happening here.
mm.
And they're all good, and they would all work as single color. So you're on the right track. It will be up to you to make a decision. I would say that they're all certainly simple, to a certain extent timeless. They're versatile. The more simplified something is, the more versatile it's going to be because you can scale it really easily without losing definition of any sort. So you have some directions to go.
Most definitely, yeah. You guys gave
Okay,
me a lot of good ideas.
awesome. Suzanne, do you have new stuff?
Yeah, it's on there. Don't laugh at my people now. Leave my people alone.
Your people are so funny.
Big figures.
Hey, they're going to be famous one day.
Look at them people.
Hey, they're people.
Are we waiting to go over Stevens? Sorry,
Um,
Steven.
we're
This
going over
message.
Suzanne's now because she
Comic
was
relief
above him
in the
before.
middle here.
Jeff
There
just
you
wants to tear mine apart. It's like, that's not pencil. What the heck? No, it's
I don't
not
know if
pencil.
these are any stronger, but
You're creating the argument. Don't do
We
that.
could sort of go around a lot. We've already gone through a lot of Suzanne's previous work. So I'd kind of like to get to the nitty gritty on this one and sort of say you're you have a lot of detail in all of them still. There's not enough simplification. I mean, the this last one down here is pretty simplified, but you're not going to want to have text inside your logo
But
like that, especially when you start shrinking it down. You'll just never be able to see it, and then you have that problem of it knocking out with colors and so on and so forth. So you wouldn't want to be doing that. So if this logo would essentially be just an F, an R, and an H, um, which is fine. It might not show the creativity you want, but if you did an F, an R, and an H, and then put the roof on it, that would work. You could just do a simplified H with a roof on it. You don't have to have the family in there for it to be literal, or you could do an H and then beside the H with the roof on it, you simply got a silhouetted family right off on the side.
Okay.
So I
with
think
the F and the
simplification
R
is
and
what you
the
need to
A,
work with.
could she put, what does that say? I can't read
Life
it hard.
beyond benefits?
Could she actually use that tagline underneath it?
Well, of course, yes.
You know,
Yeah, yeah. I think
instead
some of the
of
old ones have
font
that.
within font, because if you made that single color, you would no longer have font within font. You would have just one font.
Mm.
There are a million abstracted family shapes, right?
Yes, yes.
So how do you feel about those? Do you feel that they're too common?
No, no.
Okay.
That actually isn't the issue. It was more so the house making it a little more distinct. I mean,
Mhm.
um, the family silhouettes, I don't have a problem.
Okay. Here's some little simple people holding up a house in front of a
That's what I was
house.
kind of talking about.
Here's a family simplified. Here's a whole bunch of little families simplified and knocked out.
Mhm.
Here are people in a house. Here are people in a house.
I like that one that you just pointed at. That's actually really
Why do you
cool.
like it?
I just like the placement and the coloring.
Symmetry.
It's
The
like
energy.
symmetry.
Yeah.
It's vibrant and looks happy to me.
Mhm.
See, this was
And
my
then
thought
the
too
house,
with
the roof overhead, um, to me
Okay.
at least, indicates stability
Yeah.
and like their home.
And Suzanne, what were you going to say about it?
I was just going to say, when you had mentioned the H with just the silhouette of the family, I was kind of thinking of some idea where they're just kind of all like
Hmm.
almost touching each other and, something really simple, like kind of like that
Hmm.
idea. I think I want to go with that too. I think that's just it.
Yeah. I mean, there are obviously a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Here's this family,
Hmm.
almost looking like Mickey Mouse. Um,
Maybe.
Who's making
you know,
this?
there's lots of interesting house logos, and here's another family inside. But it'll be up to you to create the thing that makes it sort of unique. And do you incorporate? Do the people make up letter forms? Do the letter forms end up making the house? And like we had talked about sort of briefly, but I had mentioned the idea of if you had F, R, and H, and then the H had a roof on it. So there's your house. So you've got your F and your R, and you could do knockouts of people within the F and the R. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
think I did one of those images, but did I not post it
I don't think so.
of what you're talking about? Um, Maybe I didn't post it.
The two legs of the R have that negative space. And if that negative space was actually made up of silhouettes of two people standing
Hmm.
next to each other, and then if within the F itself there was a knockout of a person sort of standing in there, that could be family. Or it could be, even within the negative space within, you could do something that's mixed, that's sort of mixes that idea. And so at one point, the people are the counter, they're knocked out, but then at the other point, they're in the negative space and in the color. So you can mess around with that
It looks like
and
the
make it
R
uniquely
is like
your own.
holding up the H, kind of like pushing up against it. I don't know why. Then I don't know what you would do with the F.
Well, I mean, you'd obviously have to reconfigure the letters to a certain extent, but
Mm.
yeah. But I think that's probably your best area to explore is, you know, using your FR and your H and then just trying to, incorporate some simplified house and person into the whole thing.
Okay.
I mean, you could go with what you want because you're the designer and you have to make the ultimate decision, but you've been given all of these ideas, so. I was kind of hoping there would be something where a good example of the knockout would be shown.
I'll post these two here that I kind of did along those lines. Maybe they're not
Okay.
quite there that, but while you're tearing up Jeff's, I'll put this
Okay, good idea.
one. I'm
Mine?
just, I'm just teasing you, Jeff. No, I haven't really looked at yours. I'm just teasing. I'm just kidding.
Let's see. Well, Jeff hasn't posted anything.
Oh yeah, I have.
Posted his original, and he posted
No, I
his
meant yours, Steve. I'm
currency
sorry.
and whatnot.
Stevens?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna correct you, but I didn't want
What?
No, I
That
thought she
you
just meant
posted
Jeff's.
your original and
Uh,
currencies?
Let's
no, she was meaning yours, Stephen.
Yeah, I was talking about yours, Steve.
That's okay. That's just part of it. I actually have another whole page of stuff, but it's not complete yet.
Oh, I just put
well,
it up there.
it's
Well,
sketch stage. Nothing is complete. So
No,
you
I did another grid, another 25 of those, and I'm still in the process of putting in the rest of them to complete the grid.
well, we're in our go-to meeting now, so if you can post them, that would be great. Let's see what Anna's got here. She's got some variety, huh? I mean, not tons of it, but there's some different things going on. This is my favorite logo down here.
that's what I was gonna ask. I'm reading her notes and I'm trying to find it.
Like, where's the ABC
That's
logo coming
I
in
think
here?
that works.
Pretty
It's
strong.
nice, yeah.
Strong logo.
That looks like something
Yeah,
Saul
that would
Bass
happen
probably did.
because
But
ABC isn't that an actual logo of a news network?
Oh my gosh, Stephen, you're catching up. We're being sarcastic.
Wonder why that would be a strong logo. I'm sorry, it's been a long
this
day.
is the best logo she's come up with right here. Yeah. Okay. Silliness aside.
All right.
All right. So which one is simple and versatile and timeless and memorable and all of the above?
Infinity signs. I like the sun.
Okay. What about this one? There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, there's a whole lot going on that one.
And it looks like a castle entrance.
Yeah. The
There's a
castle
leaf
entrance
and
is
water.
actually one. She has it written on either side that is actually a picture of the sun.
Well, and I think wasn't sun the big thing?
Yeah, it's
Ooh.
the whole
Solar
premise
power.
of the campaign.
Yeah.
Solar
I think
powered cell phone.
the A with the sun. Yeah, that works. Maybe using a drop.
Where
I
are
mean,
you talking about?
I mean isolating the A,
This one?
not using the whole word. Yeah, I'm looking at that sun on a horizon. I guess that.
Yeah, that would work. Because then at least it would look like a sun and not a castle entrance.
It looks to me like a nuclear reactor with a castle entrance on it. That's what it looks like to me.
It does actually look like a
Yeah,
nuclear reactor. Okay.
yeah. Uh, well,
As long as there aren't
I would say that you're probably onto something by just using an A and then doing something with the counter of the A as opposed to the negative space of the A between the two bases.
Mm.
But I think this idea of it's not just technology, but it's also the sun, it's also heat. I think this area right here is probably a good idea. And could she incorporate that as the counter of an A? Absolutely. Could she include that as the O? Could it be the word eon, and instead of an O, she uses this? Absolutely. Um, I would say this is
Actually,
the
my
area that she needs. This is the
example.
area she needs to work with. Some sort of um, an abstracted sun figure that also looks like an atom or something scientific-y,
I
something
think if
power
you
related.
were
Technical term.
Yeah, there you go.
that, what you're pointing at right there, she just clarified the infinity symbols because that's what it
Ah,
is. It's a sun created by infinity symbols, and it actually really talks to the fact that, hey, this is a solar powered phone. As long as you have sunlight somewhere, you're going to be able to charge this phone. You have infinite amount of power for it.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not just sun. It is modern technology, and
Right.
I think she's onto something with the infinity idea and creating that sort of scientific look at the same time. So it can be a sun, it can be scientific, it can be abstract. It doesn't have to be any real thing, um, and it could end up, being the counter of an A, or it could end up being an O if necessary, or it could be neither. If it could, just like she's got it, something like this, and then the word under
Right.
it. I think this is her area right here. Anybody agree, disagree?
kind of looks like mine.
No, this is far better related to her campaign than yours.
I think it'll animate nicely.
Yeah, and it would animate nicely as well. And don't get ahead of
Number
things,
one
Steven.
is way
Wait.
That
good
was
point.
Suzanne.
It kind of looks like devil's horns on number one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't see any of the others really having an appropriate effect. I see this having the appropriate effect. Everything else is almost cartoonish or difficult. Maybe, and I think when it's green, it's going a little bit too green. I mean, we still are dealing with a technology, so we don't want it to seem like it's an um, water purification company or something, or about seeds and that kind of thing. So, Anna, if you're out there and you can hear me, you need to be working in this area right here, probably. You're the designer; it's ultimately your decision. But if you wanna get to the top of the heap, if you want to displace Steven as number one student, I think this is probably what you'll have to work with, right?
Oh yeah, okay. I'm just not even remotely close to number. Maybe
Okay.
last week, last month. And
All right.
no, you have those. Take me apart so I can go
Well,
back to the drawing board.
isn't this what we've already looked at, though? Isn't this what you had in
No,
your?
no. I literally just posted that up tonight. I mean,
No,
15 minutes before the discussion started, I posted that.
but in your dynamic mood board, weren't we using this typography?
Yes. I mean,
So this is the typography that you
it's the
chosen? Okay.
typography that, that is the same typography. It
Okay.
was specific for that logo. I don't understand. All right, this is where I'm how do I make? I've looked at like probably every car in the Universal parking lot, both guests and whatnot. And I'm looking at the different logos that are on cars and on billboards and on the printed stuff
Uh-huh.
for a logo for a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all text based. There's
Yep.
very few images.
Well, and why is
So I
that?
come up with an
Mercedes, you like
technological or something that shows technological advancement and then figure out how to incorporate eco-friendliness into that.
Well, okay, there's a couple of things you got to think about here. The sort of the history of, cars and nameplates. Um, the logo mark for a company is, the major manufacturer is the make,
Yeah,
right? And then for models, you don't typically have a logo for a model unless it is a logo type. There's no problem with that. So you can just
okay.
use logo type that is unique to the particular thing, but there have been offshoots like the Chrysler Imperial, um, was its own nameplate as well as being sort of its own division of Chrysler at different times.
Okay.
Um, but it didn't, it didn't have it did have for at one particular time it used the ribbon that they're using now as the Chrysler logo because they got rid of the Pentastar. So, you could conceivably create something that is a logo for Honda Inside
And
X.
that's actually what I'm trying to do because of the conversation we had last month where you said not to incorporate the
Honda.
actual Honda logo, the H inside the rounded off square.
Right.
And so I'm trying to make a logo, whether it's a type-based logo or a logo font that is specific to the Insight. So when somebody looks at this logo, they're gonna say that's for the Insight X, and it's
Well,
not gonna be mistaken for anything else.
well, mistaken for anything else can be difficult, but what's missing here from your work is, like I've said before, there's just not enough different ideas
That's
here. There's not enough different concepts in terms
right.
of the process. But the idea of incorporating the X to make it look like an H, which is Honda, is fantastic. I think what you're working with in terms of you've determined a typography. It's called the Insight X. It's the X is essentially the thing that's going to be the mark. It almost looks like an H, which refers back to Honda. So there's really, aside from the tree down here, I don't know what that's all
Yeah,
about.
I
But
vectored the tree. Actually, I spent a long time creating that tree in vector.
well, it's a lovely tree. It just doesn't work as logo.
Yeah, the H or the actual focal point of it disappears. The
Hmm.
the oneness, I guess you can say, of the
Yeah.
logo is the axe. That's what everybody would look at and
Hmm.
remember, which draws your focus on what's surrounding that axe. And you put the tree in there, and it just disappears. And then my little concept silhouette there that I sketched out in a couple of minutes that sits behind the others. That
Um,
was
well, and
my
that's
first
that
attempt
that
of
takes up space, and then and I
yeah,
don't know if that's kind of complicated. I think
it
your
would be
better
wrong.
bet is just to simply go with your logo type that you're working with. But what's going on over here? I understand Inside X, but what's the wording over here?
Hybrid. It's hybrid. It says hybrid under it.
It says hybrid and hybrid.
Oh, you have no. You have inside X. The X is extreme, and under it is hybrid. It's a misspelling, I guess you can say. It's extreme, extreme, extreme hybrid.
Is the It's an extreme hybrid.
Yes,
I see it now.
Okay.
inside
Um, and
extreme.
Oh, we went.
you're using the X, and then it spells TREAM.
You need your
Yes,
card. Your card
extreme
with
hybrid.
the R.
Yes, I know, I know.
Yeah. Where is that awful thing? Don't do this.
Don't do that.
Don't
Okay.
do this, Steven. I am highly disappointed in you, son. Let's see. Um, okay, let's talk about that for a second, Steven. What is your actual logo?
Well, the focal point of the logo, I thought he was looking for the card,
No,
No.
is
no, no,
the
no.
axe. I'm trying to build off the axe. I
All right.
actually had some ideas
Okay.
to where
Okay, this,
on.
well, let's just say this is not the time for it. Your logo is essentially Insight and your X. And then
Okay,
Extreme Hybrid is secondary. Your logo is
okay,
not Insight X Extreme Hybrid, it's
okay.
Insight X. That's what you're doing this for. And
All
so
right.
if it's an extreme hybrid, you can put that underneath. That can sort of be your tagline. You know, your tagline is extreme hybrid.
Oh, can
You
I
can put
put
it.
in literally go inside X and then space it over and put a key mark in and put extreme hybrid stacked next to the inside X
Well, you
to
you
keep the
can,
balance
but
in?
you're going to have to do your style guide so you determine when. But when will you use Inside X with Extreme Hybrid? All the time, some of the time, only in certain areas. Whatever. So get your logo solidified.
Gotcha.
Use Extreme Hybrid as a tagline. Determine when it would be used. You can use the idea of extreme fun, extreme power, extreme savings, whatever,
Well,
throughout your campaign, which is fine.
I could
Um,
actually get rid of the entire TREAM off there,
oh yeah.
and I'm going by the vehicles I've seen. Most of, like, even the Insight says hybrid on it, or the
Hmm.
Prius C has hybrid. It's Prius C on one side, hybrid on the other.
Hmm.
I was thinking of it as a brand mark that would be put on the back of a car. I'm like, okay, how
Yeah,
am I
but
going to do
yeah,
this?
but your logo for the most part isn't going to include
Inside
that,
X.
right?
Okay.
So you've got some interesting things. I kind of like what's going on here because it. Why do I like it? Because the line adds a little bit of interest and it sort of helps pull. It highlights the name on one side and then it pulls the tagline on the other side with it.
Yeah.
So I
Now
mean
I
you.
can get rid of the TREAM and
Uh huh.
leave it at the bottom where it pulls, and just put hybrid. I mean, that would be for the actual brand. Hybrid as a tagline is something everybody expects from eco-friendly vehicles. You
Well,
see them.
and just because everybody expects it,
Well, that's true.
isn't this an air powered car?
Yeah. Well, the
So it's
Honda
not
Air,
really a hybrid; it's an air power car.
the imagery of the Honda Air is a air-powered car, and
Oh, so
I'm
you've been using
using the
that.
imagery to represent the Inside X, which is not an air-powered car.
Okay, well, you're going to need to clean that up and think about that, and that's big time stuff. I mean, I 100% appreciate your looking ahead and thinking, how will this look on the back of the car, and how do they do them now, and that's good thinking. But you're going to have to even think further about the entire everything you're ever going to create, and think, if there's a poster for this car coming out, if there is a commercial that is being done, will the
Okay.
logo be Inside X Extreme Hybrid, Extreme X Hybrid, or I'm sorry, Insight X Hybrid, or Insight X by itself? And think about what the logo really ought to be.
Okay.
Um, and your main logo would probably be Inside X, and then you will occasionally have hybrid listed in there somewhere. Um, you know, Prius is one of those things that, don't we all know that Priuses are hybrids, pretty much?
Yeah.
Till I started this campaign, no, but I don't
Really?
drive a hybrid, so
Okay. Yeah. So all
I think
Priuses
I
are going to
just
be
blew
that.
Jeff's
Insight
mind.
is a
I
hybrid
didn't
car.
know. I knew very little about hybrids
Okay.
until this campaign.
All right. So the Insight X is not an air powered car.
No, the Inside X itself, or
Hmm.
the concept for the Inside X, was something that's completely. It's actually elements of several different things that would be coming within the next 20 years. It's not. If I were to go with the air powered car, the Honda Air,
Uh-huh.
that's something they're talking about within like the next 50 years.
Okay. Okay, well, this is a little problematic. So, is the Honda Insight X a real car?
No.
Okay. What is the technology behind it, or are you making it up?
No, the technology behind it's real.
What
The
is it?
technology, hold on, I gotta bring up my actual paper. All right, the technology behind it, which is what BioCloth body, which is real. That's actually part of the Honda Air.
Uh-huh.
The magnetic in-wheel drive system, which is um, actual real technology. Currently, Nissan is using it or
Uh-huh. Go, just
looking into it for
read off the technology here to me. What
magnetic
powers it?
in-wheel drive system and heat to electric converting alloys. Uh,
So
the heat to
electric, yeah.
converting electric alloys are being researched by just about every. Honda even uses it currently in their Insight.
Right. Um,
Um, and yeah,
and it is gas powered though, still, right?
yes, it is. It
So it is a
uses a
hybrid.
combustion engine to
Okay.
use the heat to electric converting alloys.
So it is a hybrid. Okay. Um,
And it is, you know,
but
I mean, a lot of
the
it,
wait. The image that
okay.
that we've seen so far is the Honda Air car and not the
Yes,
Inside X.
no. And this is exactly, I asked my previous instructor when I drifted away from the Insight, just the standard Insight. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't drift away. He flat out said, you need to do Insight X. What would you want to do? What could the insight be? Just come up, and I said, okay, fine. I started doing research about futuristic technologies that were coming available from even NASA and various things that
Right.
could be worked in.
Okay.
And
So the look of the car
yeah, that's
in your mind it's similar to the Air car.
yes,
Okay. All right. Okay. So back to everything I said before, Insight X is your brand, so that's what your logo needs to be. And whether
okay,
you put hybrid or extreme hybrid at different times or whatever is something different.
okay.
Okay?
Did I do
Um,
something somewhere along the line? I mean, do I have to fix this campaign into month 7 other than the logo?
no,
Because if you check
I
your money,
no, I just think that I mean there are some issues like if you were the Honda Air is not out there in production right now either, right?
no.
Is there is
Honda
there
Air,
is
no.
there an
Honda Air
Inside
has not.
X? Is there an Inside X prototype?
No, there is not.
So there is no prototype for it. So you're just using something that is also a not real car, but is sort of the closest thing to what it would probably be. So that's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm
You know?
using
Yeah.
real solid. I can give you the links to the solid
I
research
don't need
at
it.
the magnetic or electric in-wheel drive system or magnetic in-wheel drive system is real. It's
Yeah.
currently, I mean, there's motorcycles that use it, and there are other cars. They're very spacing concept.
I just needed to know, in terms of visuals, what I mean if you were essentially if you were taking the Inside X name and you were rebranding something but it was a Cadillac STS, by all other accounts, then that would be problematic.
Oh
Just
no,
yeah, going forward that would just not
there is no
be
Honda
feel right.
Insight
And
currently.
there is no Honda Air car, and the Honda Air car conceptually in terms of look is the closest thing that you believe
Yeah,
would be an Inside X. That's fine. Okay.
I
Um,
took it
you
because it was attractive, something people would look at and be like, "Oh wow, cool." I mean,
yeah.
it draws the eye.
Yeah.
Um,
You should probably try. I would say going forward, you'd probably want to try altering the look of the Air car enough that it's
it would be accepted in the U.S. and legal in
no.
the
Well,
U.S.
just
Have a
change the
link to
look
it.
of it so that it isn't. exactly the air car.
Okay.
Because anybody who would know this, and I'm not saying anybody, like the majority of people who see your campaign aren't going to know anything about this, but for somebody who did, they'd be like, that's the air car, and you're calling it an Inside X, or did they decide to name the air car the Inside X? It's just, that's where the
Yeah.
confusion is. That's all I'm saying. So you'd probably want to alter the look of the air car just in some way that would make it quintessentially the Inside X. That might just be putting the
So
nameplate
I
on it.
can basically take the general. I can do it. Never mind.
Okay. Um, yeah, so good stuff in there, and you have definite areas to work on. And Suzanne, you've managed to repost
Yeah, I
something?
did.
Okay. Okay, those aren't knockouts like I was referring to. Let's look up some knockouts.
I tried to look up knockouts and I got pictures of people fighting.
Are you talking about when letters look like are made out of people or look like people?
Yeah, well, the idea of knockout is just that, I mean, if you're dealing with a single color, um,
Negative space.
yeah,
So if she were to
but it's
draw
not
her,
just negative space either. Well,
Not
so
just negative
there's a
space.
difference between negative space and knockout. If you've got the H, or let's go with the R. No, let's go with the F. So if you've got the F and you got this big old square F and it's colored in blue, right? And then it's sitting on a white background. If you took the shape of a person, stylized person, and you just dropped it in to the bottom of the F so that there was blue on the sides of it, that would be considered knocking out. You knocked out a section of the color in the F with the shape of a person. So the
Oh,
knockout is
Like
in there.
cookie cutter.
I
Yeah.
see.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
if the okay, now this would be a counter. And so there's negative space where the counter of the R is, right? If
Mm-hmm.
the counter of the R were shaped like, well, that's not a good one. If we go down here and look at the negative space down here, if instead of it just going up and pointing and coming down in an angle and looking like a triangle, if that negative space were two people or even three people with a taller one, a medium sized one, and a shorter one, but yet you saw the shapes of the heads and the shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
and you understood it being a person because you had them knocked out in there, that would be using the negative space in the logo. So it's not the
Okay.
same as a knockout, but they're very similar.
Well,
I
the
get
on
that.
the H, she could have like
Here
two
we go.
children, the bottom part of the H knocked out facing each other, even reaching out to each other.
That too, or it could just be the roof on the house. It could be the house.
Yeah,
But here are some negative space logos that are pretty interesting, and
I like the 1 through
going back
4s.
to the whole StoryCorps thing, we've all seen this, a vase that is essentially made up from the negative space of the silhouette of
Two
two
faces.
people facing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
FedEx Express, it has the arrow that's in the negative space between the E and the X. Do you see it? We've
Yeah.
Yep.
all heard of that, right?
You actually
There's
on
there's
one
an
of
arrow in white in between the E and the X.
Right.
Okay, see
one
that?
of the
Yeah, I
posts
get you.
that you had done showed various logos, and one of them was the Food Writers Guild, which is a fork, and in the negative space there's a pen, or
Right.
no, excuse me, it's a spoon in the negative space of a quill of a pen, and that was pretty cool. I thought.
There's the city skyline in a key.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
See the city.
Elephant has, it's an E, but look, it's made up because there is an elephant's trunk that makes up the E. Here's a house made out of two martini glasses. Martini house. Two martini
Yeah, I was
glasses, and they
looking at
put that in
that
there.
one. Mm-hmm.
the S in snake, and of course, Spartan Golf Club is my favorite one of all time because it's just how complicated was that, but yet it seems so simple. Do y'all see it?
Oh yeah, that's how I swing my clubs.
Yeah,
In the shape of a helmet of the what do you call the
I see the
the
Spartan.
helmet.
I
Yeah,
see the golfer.
no, I mean it's the helmet, but
you see them both, right, Stephen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that is one of the most clever things. Who would have ever thought of all that complicated stuff making a picture?
Oh, and Jeff raises his hand. He's like, "Yeah, that's me."
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
He's on top of it. Unique idea. What's the most unique thing out there? A unicorn, and it's
And a
sitting on
light
top of
bulb.
something that makes a light bulb.
Yeah, there's a
Nice.
knife and blade over there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Right
And the
there.
hay. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And the horse with the dog animals in it. Oops, sorry about that.
oh, is that the Insight X?
Shark tours.
The one for the zoo is nice.
Yeah.
Colner Zoo.
Yeah,
Very
they like to
simply, an
outlive.
E. An E.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
It's
Ed, so it's
lighting.
got an E.
Yeah, that's cool. And that was actually one of the examples
hmm
from our reading.
Yeah, I was looking at those. I really like those.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Food for you. So this is, essentially what I mean with, a knockout. If you've got one color and you knock it out, so you can use negative space.
Mhm.
The negative space here for the elephant, that's no different than the negative space for the R,
Mhm.
the bottom of the R, or what you can put in
Right.
the counter space. You can, use little people in there. You can put them as counters, or you can put them in as making use of the negative space.
Oh, that picture of the eagle is cool with the two
A wolf and a
horses, or the
horse.
mare and the horse, or the wolf and the horse.
Mhm.
That looks cool.
Yeah. So
Oh, look at the watermark.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing that.
W.
mhm.
Mhm.
It's clever.
Okay.
So yeah, simplification I think is the deal there,
Okay. Yeah,
Suzanne.
that's good thought.
Here's
I
some
will keep that.
Thrive logos that
Uh
don't
oh.
necessarily have to
That
do
one's
with
cool
water. I mean, yours does have
with
to
the
do with
work
water, but
There's that sun.
yeah.
with the sun or the lunar or solar eclipse or
Mhm.
whatever that is.
Yeah,
That looks really cool.
I like the
Well,
play
really
on that
strong.
black one too, the Thrive with the I don't know if that's the rising sun above the sun.
Yeah, that's what
right,
The
I had
little
said.
right there.
Yeah,
the
That's
sun
That
coming
is
up over the earth.
really cool looking.
it's like
yeah,
a movie
cool.
poster.
Happy person. There's something with a V in a happy person.
Hmm.
That's kind of the
Flash.
same V that I was talking about
Yeah,
with
with
the
the
ape.
hands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
Or
good.
the water droplets that could be perceived as hands. So many
yep.
levels.
Definitely.
There's the eye. It's interesting. They all have sort of a different feel. Some are a little bit more comic. Some are a little bit more juvenile. Some are a little bit more ethereal. I mean, they're just taking the V to all kinds of new areas right
Yeah,
there.
that's way out there.
Yeah, here's some water droplets.
Hmm.
It's got a nice
That's
the font itself has a nice quality to it with the curves. Going back
It
to our
looks
whole curvilinear and rectilinear
well,
idea.
it's staying away from those pointy edges, and you add curves, and you're staying organic
yeah.
and
Hmm.
a lot more comforting than something with real sharp edges that makes you want to like jump out of your seat and run down the hall screaming.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Oh, and
Definitely.
there's the little thing like Jeff's over by the Thrive to
Yeah,
the
on the
left.
left. That's really strong. Hmm.
This is, fairly common sort of idea. This is using that idea of half person and half vegetation or whatever, but the halving idea
Right.
that we kind of
Green.
mentioned
It's
earlier.
morphing.
Part water, part sun,
Drink
both of them
thrives
make a
better
smiley face, so
in
you
the
bring people into it also,
There you go.
all those levels. Okay. You know it.
Wow, that guy's thriving. That
Mm-hmm.
little guy that was running,
Jump in.
he is like real happy. There's something special in his water.
What does that mean? Get a little something special in his water.
Monster. Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Huh. Some fluorons coming out of a mouth. This is an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know why it's on here, but um, bubbles, and then the bubbles sort of turn into what looks like maybe notes, and so it's sort of like all this creative information. And it's coming through in the form of bubbles,
And the
and
fact that
then
it's changing tells a story.
right here are the quote bubbles, but they're in a specific sort of stylized form.
That's what I was thinking of. I mean, she can take her quote bubbles there and turn them into smiley faces with headphones on or
Yeah,
whatever, and
yeah.
make
The
them look like
headphones
they're
could be
talking
the
back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
But look how many of these storytelling things are really kind of abstracted though. Like there's two or three that use birds, and I mean birds sing. I don't know if they're part of Oklahoma City or whatever they're part of, but what does a bird have to do with it? But it's still being used. It's kind of
I
interesting.
guess
Still waters. It's an
when it comes
S.
to a story, you could make a story out of anything, really.
Well, they evoke different, depending on what you use, it evokes something different. Storytelling cafe, that's why it's got the cup, but Storify is just a font. There's a bird again.
Maybe, yeah. Songbird, storybird,
Yeah,
mockingbird.
communication. Yeah. Here's an interesting idea. I mean, here are three abstracted squares, essentially, three different shapes, and they're in the form of basically in the form of a square. Maybe there's something about StoryCorps that maybe there are three elements to it. It's the storyteller, the listener, and the technology. So maybe you've got circles or squares or triangles or something that are each, sort of altered in a way that represent a storyteller, a listener, and a technology. Storyteller on one side, listener on the other side, and the technology in the middle, possibly, that conveys the information. So it doesn't necessarily even have to be as obvious as a mouth and an ear. It could be a shape of some sort that has sort of an icon in it or becomes an icon in itself to represent storyteller, technology, and listener. And it doesn't even have to be those three things. Maybe there are three things. Maybe there are only two things.
I was I kind of looked up some things, like if I remember what her campaign about, it was storytelling in the Afro American community.
Mm-hmm.
And I had given her a link to this website because the original storytelling, I had suggested she, research how was original storytelling done in that community, and that
Uh-huh.
animals had a strong images that they used to tell their stories.
That's interesting.
So, I mean, she could even go in the direction of, um, using the images, you being strong on images as opposed to a lot of writing. Um,
Now, her Her company is StoryCorps, which isn't strictly African American. Is it a? Is
I
she
don't know,
taking an
because I was
African
just reading
American bent?
something that she had written. I'm not real sure
Okay.
if
There's
that
an
was the,
eye
that's why I
with a
said I,
quote mark in it. That's just I don't know
what is
why,
it?
but
An eyeball with a quote mark.
right, getting there, getting there.
Like see that bird with the,
Well, we had gotten to Twitter,
oh yeah, well, I'm not saying a bird, but
right? There's a Cocapelli.
There,
Right here.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Quote mark turned into an eyeball.
kind of brings back that criticism on the quote.
that's
Hmm.
nice.
There's a big S with a quote bubble in it and a thought bubble.
Ah, I see that.
See what happens when you can do research?
Hmm.
Get some ideas. Okay. It's 8:09. So, do we have anything we need to talk about? Any housekeeping issues? Ah, yes, we were something we were going to get to animation. So, the other thing, we talked about the single color idea, the black and white version. We all know what multicolor is, or full color would be. Um, and transparent, do we understand the idea of transparent? Where,
Um,
Suzanne, would you see a transparent logo?
um, I guess over other images or
Yeah, essentially, it's got a certain opacity to it. It could be as transparent as if you think about an ice sculpture, you can see all the way through the ice, but because it's sculpted, it sort of has this glisten and this glow to it or whatever, so it creates the shape of whatever you've sculpted. So you can see it by the light being refracted differently. So it could be as transparent as that, um, and looking like glass, molded glass. And so it warps whatever's behind it, but it's all about whatever's behind it that ends up giving it the shape because you're actually warping the shape of what it's in front of. So it could be that much, or it could be an opacity where it's not really transparent; it's more of gray, or it could be anything in between that, so that you can see some of what's behind it, but maybe not as much because it's got a gray quality to it. It's got a gray opacity on it. And you would see it, sort of most traditionally, the way that most people grasp the idea easily is a bug on a television screen. And a bug is the term for the logo that is transparent, that it would be in the bottom right of a television screen.
Like
Um,
ABC.
like the ABC, yeah. Where have we seen that before? That's a
I've seen
bug.
that logo here somewhere. No.
And so you can have a transparent logo. You could we can look up bug logo. I'm sure those will come up. Right. Well, no, we get
Machine.
bugs instead of
TD14.
television. Bug. Um,
Broadcast.
there you go. Right. Well, then we'd
Broadcast.
see other things. Broadcast bug. Um,
Alpha.
yeah, they're hard to tell. Well, okay. Another thing would be etched glass. If you had a
that's a good
window,
example.
if you had a window, oh, you know what? And there's one down the street from me. I should take pictures of it. China in College Park. Stephen, you can go over and look at it on Edgewater. Um, Edgewater in Princeton. There's a glass window, and they have their logo etched into it on there, so you can see
Is
through
it
it
a
because it's
business?
etched. I'm sorry, what's that, Stephen?
Is it a business? I'll
Yeah,
go take pictures of it.
yeah. China in College Park. It's a Chinese restaurant. Um, And yeah, so I mean, you can see through the etching, you can see the color, you can see the person walking by. You know it's a person because you can, distinguish a general shape, but you can't get the detail because of the opacity that's on the etched glass. But it would be essentially a transparent logo. it's the idea of what that logo would look like and how would that logo be used in those situations. Another example, I don't think I'm wearing one right now, but um, sweatshirts. You can have a cotton sweatshirt, fleece sweatshirt that has a heat imprint on it of a logo. The only thing you're seeing is the shape of the logo, or it could be, you could even stitch it on for that matter, but you have those heat imprint logos. So it's sort of puffed up in spots that ends up creating the shape of the logo. I can't see, most of you don't. So do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's essentially a transparent logo. There is no color to it. There is nothing that is saying here's the logo other than the shaping of it. So it's the
Same.
idea of how that logo will look just as a shape or based on whatever is behind it, what kind of shape it's warping and creating to the shape behind it. Okay?
Yep.
And so that brings us to animated logo. And animated logos are I'm getting Solar Bears updates, and it looks like Elmira has scored, so that's unfortunate. Um, so animation of your logo is most easily talked about in terms of production company logos. I mean, there are animated logos everywhere, but we are pretty familiar, most of us, with the animated logos at the beginnings of movies. Correct? Yes?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All of these we pretty much know. I mean, I think the most classic and easiest one to understand is Ars Gratia Artis for MGM and Leo the Lion. I mean, there's a lion in the middle of this thing, and it growls. I mean, it's animated essentially. And DreamWorks, has the
Oh,
clouds,
I
and it
love
has a
that.
whole
Yeah.
storytelling, and then the clouds, sort of come apart, and then you see the kid sitting on the moon, kind of swinging his leg, um, and
Pixar.
all of those are just animated. Pixar's got the little jumping
Wally, or not
lamp,
Wally. Yeah.
yeah, little jumping lamp. So, yeah, you get the idea. So here's what you need to think about in terms of animation. You're doing these logos, and think about, Stephen mentioned it earlier, but how would this thing move? How should this move? If it's very literal, do I go with the literal side of what it would do? Is it water that moves? Or is it water that grows? Is it water that transforms? Does Thrive transform? Do you go from cracked, dry looking earth to some sort of lightning bolt, and then all of a sudden that sort of turns to water, and then you've got the logo as a droplet of water for Thrive. You have to think about, what is the company doing? Is the company saving you money? Um, if so, then how do you animate this thing saving money in some way? Does it give you money back somehow? I mean, does money flow out of the logo? And then all of a sudden, then you're just left with the logo. I mean, so it gives a sense of, it might not be something that moves literally. It might be something like that moves abstractly. So you have to think about, while you're doing this, what should this do? What might it do if it were real? What do I want it to communicate with the movement? All that makes sense?
Yes.
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 Okay. Awesome. Any questions going forward?
No, that
No.
little lamp, by the way, is named Maxo.
Yes, I had forgotten that. Thank you.
There, I did an animation of Maxo for my undergrad. I actually have the rig donated to my class from Pixar.
Ooh,
Very
nice.
cool.
Good stuff.
So, yeah, nice little IKFK rig, and in I think I did that in 3ds Max, 3D Studios Max, animated it, and made them dance around with just a chip that I threw out there.
Okay. Well, this brings us to the end of the go-to meeting, which is kind of odd because it's sort of in the middle of the week in a way, because you've got until Sunday, sort of. You have a 2-week open period to complete what you need to complete. So, if you are somebody who has a logo that you feel is at a completed stage, um, and you can go ahead and start putting together your different versions, and you can even go so far as to apply it. If you're somebody who feels that you need to um, do some more sketches and post them and get classmate feedback before you pick, you can do that. And if you get something picked before next Monday, that's great. If you want to wait until the meeting next Monday, you're perfectly welcome to wait until the meeting next Monday to decide on your logo. But just know that you will have only from Monday till Sunday to create the different versions and to prototype it, which really isn't all that difficult. So you probably could wait till Monday, but I don't want to speak for anybody because I don't. Everybody's got different skill levels and so on and so forth. So maybe you're doing a little bit of it all at the same time. Maybe it will help in terms of deciding a logo if you actually try to do different versions of it, and then you kind of go, this isn't working for me now that I've done it transparent of it. I don't like the way it looks. It's too big or it's too detailed or something of that nature. So that's kind of saying that you can do whatever you need to do to get the job done by 2 Sundays from now, but don't rest on your laurels. I think that you've done some good work, but there is certainly more work to be done in terms of choosing. Like I said at the top of this, that there's most of you could really do with a lot more iteration and a lot more concept work. And that actually made me think of Jeff Sims. We didn't talk about anything you had done, right? Did you post something? You said you did.
Yeah, he
Darn,
We
posted
Jeff, you
thought,
almost got away with it.
his sketches and
Right
then
here?
his transparencies, I believe.
Last meeting.
This is from last meeting, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you didn't post anything.
Yeah,
Or you did post something.
yeah, from
Where?
last meeting.
Oh. In the last meeting you posted it. Got it. All right. So we've already talked about this, all of this,
Yes.
in the last meeting.
Oh, and by the way, if you go up a little bit, that ball, I remember what I was doing with it.
This one?
Uh, on the right, the with the feathered, yeah,
Mhm.
that was going to be a staff. I think Susanna asked about it. She said, I like what's going on here. I don't know what the
Oh, you were
circle
going for a
is.
caduceus?
Yes,
Oh.
but
See, now
but
that's very clever.
Hmm.
with the branch or whatever I don't even know what they are, wings or something.
The
The
caduceus?
leaf. No, no, no. I meant kind of taking the wings and turning them more into a plant like.
Leaves, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of leaves,
So
but they're
is it
coming off of a
so is it
stem.
representative of a caduceus? Is that the idea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the
So,
idea.
all right, which works, and I think it
Which
still has that elegant feel to it as well.
I
Hmm.
Yeah.
stopped though because I liked the idea of one side, and then I don't know. I forget. I
It looks
wanted to.
like you just got attached to the S like shape, and your brain took that and wrapped it around in a circle, like that wavy shape, because you can see where you
Well, that's
start
exactly what I
on
did.
that
Yeah,
staff, and then you went with that wavy shape, and it progressed. The further down you go, you got spaces where you just drew it again and
hmm
again, and it turned into your logo, which obviously you animated already. He went way far ahead of everybody.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't do it. That was
Ow.
you guys are. That's foresight. No, I'm. But
But I still do really
All
like
right,
that, and I like the
cool.
idea now that you explained that of that, like you said, the bird and turning into a plant, or maybe it's swooping down and becoming that wrap around thing or something. I don't know.
Were
What's
you
the
plan? I
purpose?
mean, the
for
real. element of the caduceus is the snake. Were you planning on using a snake?
Yeah.
No,
No.
Okay.
no, and that's
And
kind
then
of
the two wings that you said on a caduceus.
Mhm.
If I remember right, a caduceus, the staff. You got the staff up the center. You got two snakes intertwined, wrapping around it. The base of the caduceus is the tails. The top, the arms of it, are the two snakes' heads on either side.
facing the.
Yeah, but it really only needs to be one snake. I mean, biblically, it only needs to be one snake, but the medical doctors use the two snakes. Okay, well, but we didn't go anywhere with it for this go-to meeting, so let's see some application then of your logo between now and Sunday, I guess, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Application.
All right. Well, I've got 6
Oh.
minutes before the next go-to meeting. What's up?
In 1 minute, then. Are we supposed to post our time management forms to the discussion board? Because when I was filling it out, there's online for Wednesday, it says discussion board. It makes it sound like we're supposed to post to the discussion board, but there's actually a project spot to post it to, where I put it.
You post
Yeah,
it.
you're
You
supposed to
you
post
don't.
it on that link.
Yeah, you don't post it to the discussion board. So I'm not.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out why it said discussion board, but I don't worry about that. Just which you didn't do, obviously. So don't.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool.
Awesome. Okay, guys.
Have fun
Thank
in
you.
the next discussion board, and I
All
hope your
right.
team wins.
Let's hope. Take care, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.
See you guys.